A state grand jury has indicted Maricopa County Assessor Paul Petersen on 32 felony counts for his alleged involvement in an adoption fraud scheme. He has also been indicted by federal authorities in Arkansas and by state authorities in the state of Utah. What we've alleged and what we've discovered is that this adoption fraud schemes involves pregnant women from the Marshall Islands being flown to the state of Arizona to have their babies put up for adoption. We believe most of the children that were born here were eventually flown to other states or adopted in other states. We allege that Petersen, through his adoption agency, is accused of utilizing this adoption scheme in at least 29 births here in Arizona between November of 2015 and May of 2019. This is what we know about right now. There may indeed be more cases and more instances. County Assessor Petersen is also accused of using false information to place these Marshall Islands women on state-funded health care in order to pay for delivery costs, allegedly bilking the state out of more than $800,000. In other words, Arizona taxpayers are paying for these birth of these women in order for them to be adopted by other people. What Mr. Petersen is also accused of doing is an affront, frankly, to all Arizona taxpayers. It's unfair to the adoptive parents, and it's also fair to every hardworking Arizona taxpayer. According to our indictment, Mr. Petersen and co-defendant Linwood Jeanette purchased travel arrangements for pregnant Marshallese women to travel to here to Arizona for the sole purpose of giving birth in order to put these children up for adoption. After the women gave birth and completed the adoption, Petersen allegedly purchased travel for these birth mothers to travel to other states here in America. The women either moved back to, or either moved to places like Arkansas, or even were moved back to the Marshall Islands. It is alleged that these Marshallese women were not residents of Arizona and at the time they gave birth. Therefore, their access applications were submitted and they were ineligible for state-funded medical benefits. Petersen and Jeanette are also charged with directing these women to fraudulently misrepresent their residency status in order to obtain those benefits. So once again, in summary, we have grand juries indicted, and we have alleged that Petersen and Jeanette on 32 counts, including 28 counts of fraudulent schemes and practices, 1 count of conspiracy, 1 count of fraudulent schemes and artifices, 1 count of theft, as well as 1 count of forgery. One of the most important things I want to get out today to emphasize that the families that adopted these children are not under investigation, and they're not the focus of our investigation. And we want anyone with any information or questions pertaining to these adoptions of these children from the Marshall Islands to please contact our office at 602-542-8888. Once again, that's one of the most important things I want to emphasize, is that these adoptions are not in jeopardy. Our focus is on the individuals that facilitated these alleged felonies.
One of our very astute heads-up troopers was contacted by a friend who had gone to the law offices of Mr. Petersen to adopt a child. After the initial meeting, this particular person was concerned about the legitimacy of the process, the fees involved in the process, and talked to our detective trooper by the name of Sam Hunt. Sam was part of a task force that worked with Homeland Security Investigations, Phoenix PD, and the Arizona Department of Public Safety. They started looking into this adoption process back in December of 18. And it led us to the culmination of where we are today. Last night, prior to the arrest, or right at the time we arrested Mr. Petersen, we executed a number of search warrants here in the Valley. And at one of the locations where the search warrant was executed, there were 8 additional Marshallese women there who were all pregnant at the time. It is alleged that Mr. Petersen would charge about $35,000 for you to adopt a child from his agency. He would pay these Marshallese women around $10,000 on some occasions, but then siphon money off the top of that for health care, for housing, transportation, and other things. And then Miss Jeanette was also part of this scheme where she would help them fill out fraudulent paperwork for access so they could deliver the baby on state funds.